5 Rangers make the cut for final voting in the All-Star push. On today's episode, I'm breaking down why all 5 of them deserve to be starters and a look at what's been going on in the minor leagues this week. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Friday, June 23rd. Your Rangers are 46-28, alone atop the AL West with a 5.5 game lead over the second place Astros. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into today's episode, this is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/lockedonmlb and they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every single order. Now, 5 Texas Rangers have made the final cut for final voting in All-Star starter land. Now, I did have someone ask me on Twitter if this means that all of these guys are guaranteed to be All-Stars, and I had to go and look it up to make sure, but that is not the case. The only way that you can make a guaranteed All-Star appearance in the first round of voting is if you lead your league in voting. That was not any of the Texas Rangers. That was Shohei Ohtani in the American League and Ronald Acuna Jr., unsurprisingly for both of those in the National League. So no, none of these guys are guaranteed to be All-Stars, but they do have a pretty darn good chance. The way it works is every single vote from the first round has been thrown out. It starts anew on Monday. I believe it goes through Thursday, the second round of voting. And whoever wins gets to be a starter. The Rangers have 5 guys: catcher Jonah Heim, second base Marcus Semien, shortstop Corey Seager, third base Josh Jung, and outfield Adolis Garcia. Adolis barely made the cut. A lot of these Rangers were in danger of not making the cut. I didn't think Adolis would make the final 6 outfielders, but he nabbed that 6th outfield spot, and good on Rangers fans for voting him in. Jonah Heim was in danger of not making the final cut at catcher, which would have been absolutely absurd, and he made the cut. He passed up Salvador Perez in Kansas City. Those Royals fans, they really can vote en masse. Thankfully, the larger crowd, the justice for Jonah prevailed, and he is one of the final vote getters. Now, only 2 Rangers actually led their position. That was Marcus Semien, who pretty much doubled up second place Whit Merrifield at second base, and Josh Jung ended up passing Matt Chapman in that final push. So good on Rangers fans for getting Josh Jung over the hump there. It doesn't matter now. It just mattered if they were in the top 2 or top 6 of their position, if they're in the outfield. And the Rangers have 5 different guys, and I think every single one of them deserves to be a starter. I mean, Corey Seager, his only knock on him is that he missed time, and in the time that he has been playing, he's been absolutely incredible. His 2.4 Fangraphs WAR is just 0.4 behind Bo Bichette, and Bo Bichette has played 32 more games than Corey Seager. He also has 4 more home runs than Seager, but again, nearly almost double the amount of games played. Corey Seager is leading him in batting average, 358, on base, 418, slugging percentage, 642, WOBA, ex-WOBA, weighted runs created plus, offensive value. RBIs as well. Actually, no, he is one shy in the RBI count. Bo Bichette has 46 versus Corey Seager's 45. But again, that's in nearly double the amount of games. Corey Seager has been absolutely incredible. He's never started an All-Star game before, which kind of surprises me with how good he's been in his career and the fact that he was an LA Dodger, and there's a lot of LA Dodgers fans who can vote en masse, and I'm surprised they never did that for Corey Seager. But Rangers fans can do that. They could make him an All-Star for the second time in 2 seasons with Texas, which would be incredible and deserved, and I'm really looking forward to that. Marcus Semien, this would be, I believe, his 3rd All-Star appearance, which is just kind of insane. It goes to show how slow of a starter he's been in his career, that he hasn't had more All-Star appearances, but he deserves to start, and there should be absolutely no question about it. Compared to Whit Merrifield, he has been just leaps and bounds better. Whit Merrifield only has 2 home runs to Marcus Marcus Semien's 10. His slugging percentage is significantly lower. His is below. Whit Merrifield is at 383. Marcus Semien's his slugging is at 455 in terms of WAR. Marcus is more than doubling him up, 2.8 Fangraphs WAR to 1.3 Fangraphs WAR for Whit Merrifield. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. Marcus Semien should be starting, and it should not be close. Don't look at batting average or on base or any of the things that make Marcus Semien look a little bit worse. But he's blowing him away in so many other categories. I don't think that one should be close. Now, the closest race, I think, is going to come down to catcher. Jonah Heim versus Adley Rutschman. Both of them have 10 home runs. Jonah has him in the RBI category with 54 to just 32, in the runs scored category at 38 to just 36. He's played 6 fewer games. He has him in the WAR category as well, 2.6 Fangraphs WAR to just 1.9 for Adley Rutschman, which is nothing to sneeze at. But Jonah Heim's just been incredible. He got robbed last year from being an all-star. He absolutely deserves to be an all-star, and I think the surefirest way of getting him there is making him a starter. Rangers fans need to vote often and early and get everyone else. Maybe the Rangers need to form an alliance. I saw the Baltimore Orioles on Twitter tweeting at the Phillies account to form an alliance to kind of get both of their fans to vote for each other. The Rangers need to find themselves a National League team to partner with and say, hey, y'all want to have your fans vote for our guys, and we'll vote for your guys, and kind of find a big fan base. Maybe the Cardinals. Dare I say an alliance with the Cardinals? Probably not. But 5 All-Star finalists. This is huge. The Rangers have, I don't know, it feels like almost everybody, you look around the diamond, has a legitimate shot of, being an All-Star caliber player, or has been in the past. I mean, Nathaniel Lowe won a Silver Slugger last year. He wasn't an All-Star. It would be a tough task for him to be an All-Star this year with, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's always going to be tough for him. Vladdy's not having the best season. I mean, Nathaniel Lowe isn't having the best season either. I don't think he's going to be an all-star, chosen by his peers or, the managers or whoever else is voting on that. But the Rangers have 5 guys, I think, that are pretty surefire all-stars. I think all these guys are pretty surefire. They also have Nathan Eovaldi. And, if you want to look around and see some other guys, I mean, John Gray is a fringe candidate. Leody Taveras, I think, is a fringe candidate. So is Ezekiel Duran. And Josh Sborz and Will Smith in the bullpen definitely are deserving of looks. I don't know that they'll get it. I think outside of these 5 guys, I think Nathan Eovaldi is a surefire all-star. And if the Rangers had 6 all-stars, I mean, you got to think, wow, that's got to be the most in Rangers history. And it wouldn't be. I went back and looked this up because I thought this is a lot of all-stars for one team, and surely the Rangers haven't done that. Well, in 2012, in case you forgot, the Rangers had 8 all-star players, and they also had the manager, Ron Washington. So 9 representatives in the all-star game that year. They had Elvis Andrus, Adrian Beltre, Yu Darvish, Josh Hamilton, Matt Harrison, Ian Kinsler, Mike Napoli, and Joe Nathan. I mean, there's a lot of Rangers all-stars that I kind of forgot about, that Alexi Ogando was actually an all-star one year, which is a fun little reminder of that guy. That was back in 2011. The Rangers haven't had they only had 3 starters that year, and so the Rangers could break their franchise record for most starters in a year. I think Josh Jung should be starting. Marcus Semien, no doubter. If they can get 2 of Jonah Heim, or if they can get both Jonah Heim and Corey Seager starting, that would be the most starters that the Rangers have had in an All-Star game. Maybe Adolis Garcia. I think he definitely is deserving of a look. He is 3rd in terms of outfielder WAR amongst American leaguers. The only finalist that he is behind is Randy Arozarena, so he is ahead of Yordan Alvarez, Mike Trout, also ahead of where were the other guys that were in there? Okay, yeah, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Randy Arozarena, Yordan Alvarez, Kevin Kiermaier, and Adolis Garcia. Kiermaier is actually having a really great offensive season. I mean, it's kind of fallen back down to earth, but he's still an amazing defender. It'd be cool for him to get an all-star nod. He never has before in his career, and that would be a fun thing for him. But I think it'd be more fun for Adolis Garcia to be a multi-time all-star. Show the people who thought his flash-in-the-pan start to his major league career was just a flash in the pan, and I've been a believer ever since, and a second All-Star appearance would solidify this guy is a bona fide stud. Coming up, we're going to look at what's been going on in the minor leagues, a return from Evan Carter, and a couple of guys in AAA who I think are definitely worthy of taking a look at. But first, it's a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball season is in full swing, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/locked-in to join today. You can take some bets on the Rangers winning the AL West. I bet those odds are getting, maybe you won't get as big a payout as if you made a bet in the beginning of the season, but I bet those odds are still pretty decent. You can make some bets on some Rangers winning individual awards. Maybe if you want to take a bet on a Corey Seager MVP, that might be something you might want to take a look at. And Josh Jung for Rookie of the Year, you never know. So don't miss your chance to snag a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. So don't miss out. Just go to FanDuel.com/locked-on to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, I'll break down this weekend's series in the Bronx. The Rangers take on the Yankees this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, a couple of guys that I've been wanting to keep an eye on in AAA are a couple of pitchers, particularly. That is Glenn Otto and Cole Ragans, and both those guys had really, really solid outings this week. On Tuesday, Cole Ragans, in his second start in AAA this year, looked absolutely excellent. 4 innings for him, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, just 1 earned run, only 3 hits allowed. He was excellent, absolutely excellent. 8 swings and misses, 9 called strikes looking. Just a really, really good outing for him, and only 63 pitches. He was very, very efficient with his pitch count. He was able to get a lot of swings and misses, and this is what I've been wanting from Cole Ragans. I wanted him to either be a starter or a 1-inning back-end reliever guy. Obviously, you get more value out of a starter, and I think that his ceiling is somewhere is a mid-rotation pitcher, which is a little bit higher than Cody Bradford's, and I think even a little bit higher than Dane Dunning's. So, I mean, if everything breaks right for him, especially with that added velo, and if he can stay in the strike zone and be consistent and not walk a lot of batters like he had been when he was a starter previously, I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I'm really, really excited of him getting another opportunity to start. I mean, able to go 4 innings with those 63 pitches when he hadn't been starting very much at all. His first outing was a little rougher. He didn't allow any runs in that outing, but only went an inning and 2/3 on 44 pitches thrown. So good to see him being a little bit more economical with his pitch count. And again, this is what I was asking for with Cole Ragans. I mean, a guy comes in, adds 5 ticks on his fastball, basically, and looks incredible, and then you throw him as a long reliever. I felt like that was a misuse of Cole Ragans' talents, and letting him go out there and get stretched out and start in AAA to the point where, his ceiling might be knocking one of those guys at the back end of the rotation out. I mean, that's how high his ceiling is. It's always been that high, and with this added velocity, it just really unlocks everything for Cole Ragans. So I'm really excited to see him having that kind of an outing. Obviously, he's going to need to build on it. Obviously, he's going to need to be able to throw more than 63 pitches or whatever it was if he comes up to the big leagues and starts. But that's a guy who can help your rotation right now. I mean, that's a guy, and I would be really excited if he could earn a spot in the Rangers starting rotation at the big league level by the end of the season, and I think that's definitely a possibility. Another guy who I don't think is going to earn a spot in the Rangers starting rotation, but could very much help in a multi-inning back-end relief role, kind of like a Josh Spores with his stuff playing up to that level. That's Glenn Otto. He had a much better second rehab outing, 3 innings pitched against the El Paso Chihuahuas, 3 strikeouts, just 1 hit, no walks. He hasn't walked anybody in his 2 rehab appearances, 44 pitches thrown, 30 strikes, 11 strikes looking, and 5 swings and misses. Really good stuff from Glenn Otto. I'm excited about him. I'm excited about a lot of what's going on in the Rangers AAA. I mean, pitching-wise, not as much, but hitting-wise, the Rangers have got a lot of guys who are doing really well in AAA, including Dustin Harris, who just got promoted to AAA in 2 games so far. He has been absolutely crushing it. He has gone 5 for 7 with a double, a triple, a homer, 2 RBIs, 2 walks to just 1 strikeout, a slash line of 714, 778, 1571. That is a 2349 OPS. Yes, I know it is 9 plate appearances, and he is not going to continue to do that. But still, it's impressive, and it should absolutely be applauded. Another guy who's having a really great season offensively in AAA is Julio Pablo Martinez, the 27-year-old Cuban outfielder. He's got an OPS north of 1,000 in 35 games, 162 plate appearances, 12 doubles, 4 homers, 2 triples, 21 stolen bases to just 1 time caught stealing, and on base of 472, slugging 555. I mean, this is a guy who might honestly get a look at the big league level if the Rangers weren't so stacked with depth in the outfield. I mean, if the Rangers, Lord forbid, had to make some weird moves and end up having to cut Travis Jankowski, the guy who I'm calling it back up to replace him on the roster wouldn't be Bubba Thompson. It would be JP Martinez. That's where I'm going with the kind of season that he's had. Offensively, the Rangers have a lot of guys who are just crushing it in AAA. I mean, we talked about Davis Wenzel last week. His OPS is still north of 920. He's got 15 home runs on the season. That's really exciting. Elliot Hernandez, who got a look briefly in the big leagues last year, he's hitting 335 and on base north of 400, slugging 571, a 977 OPS, 12 dingers for him, 16 doubles, 3 triples in 64 games. That's 276 plate appearances. That's not nothing. That is something that, could be a 4th outfielder on a roster. I mean, the Rangers have a lot of guys that are just fringe guys, and they have a deep 26-man roster, and if there's some kind of injury or something that the Rangers have to make concessions for, I mean, JP Martinez, Elliot Hernandez, Davis Wenzel, maybe even Justin Foscue, who's got an 894 OPS this year and on base north of 400 and slugging 488 in 57 games played this year. I mean, those are guys you can absolutely call up in a pinch, and I would feel pretty decent about what they're doing. I mean, the reason that Clint Frazier left, he had a 792 OPS, and we saw him at the big league level with the White Sox, is because there was no room for him. He was having a solid season. I thought he was a guy with a lot of promise, a former top prospect who I thought maybe he can crack the roster. I thought he might be the Rangers opening day left fielder. That didn't end up being the case, and he's an everyday starting outfielder for the White Sox. So, yeah, because the Rangers just have so much depth on this roster. Really excited for those guys. And I think that the JP Martinez breakout is real. And maybe the Rangers try and trade him for some value. Maybe Davis Wenzel gets added in a package. Maybe Elliot Hernandez gets added in a package. If the Rangers want to do a trade with, the Marlins or some team with a struggling offense, like, I don't know, maybe the Cleveland Guardians who think they're in it, and get some pitching from them. I mean, who knows? These guys have real value, and I'm really excited to see what they're doing. If Dustin Harris can continue, hitting 700 in AAA, then he might be in the big leagues pretty quickly too. But really exciting stuff at the upper levels for the Rangers, especially those Glenn Otto and Cole Reagan's developments. Don't ask me about what Spencer Howard did this week. Just go look it up. Not quite as positive, not earth-shatteringly bad, but I'm just not super enthused about it. Coming up, we're going to look at what Evan Carter has done since he has gotten off the injured list, and another look at a reliever in AA who should not be there for much longer. But first, this word from our sponsors. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, I'll be breaking down this weekend series in the Bronx. The Rangers take on the Yankees this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, Evan Carter, after taking a pitch off his right wrist, I believe it was about a month ago, in early May, it really led to a lot of struggles. He was not performing nearly as well. I mean, he was still doing the things that you know and love from Evan Carter. He was still working his walks. He was still playing really good defense. He was still being a smart and aggressive base runner, but the power just was not there. He didn't hit a single home run in the month of June and only had, I believe, 2 extra base hits, just 1 triple on May 17th and 1 double, actually a couple of doubles. So 3 extra base hits in the entire month of May after absolutely crushing basically every baseball he saw in the month of April. So the Rangers put him on the IL, had a brief stint with the Arizona Complex League, and then came back for a couple of games with the Rough Riders so far. In the last 7 days, that includes 2 out of those 3 games in the Arizona Complex League, he is hitting .385 with an on-base of .500 and slugging .1077, a pair of homers, a triple, a double, 3 walks, just 2 strikeouts. That's the Evan Carter that we all know, and that's the reason why he is a top 10 prospect in all of baseball, and good to see him back on the field and absolutely mashing. Another guy who has been crushing it in Double-A is Alex Speece. Speece is a guy who the Rangers drafted back in the second round of 2016 out of McEacham High School in Georgia, a guy who throws just extreme gas. He's 25 years old. He took a year off last year to go, and I believe he was coaching high school baseball, and he comes back this year. I mean, he left baseball because he just could not command his stuff. He had incredible stuff, but just could not command it, could not throw it for strikes, and thought, well, I guess this is it for me. Took a year off, and then he comes back and signs with the Rangers this year, and he has been incredible, absolutely incredible out of the Rough Riders bullpen, and I really don't think I need to see much more from him for him to get a promotion to AAA. I mean, he's just been absolutely crushing it. The last 28 days, he's been in 8 games in that span, and over that span, he has not allowed a single earned run. He's gotten a save. He's pitched 11 in the third innings, just allowed 4 hits, 3 walks, and 21 strikeouts on the season. He has been exceptional. 22 games for him, 26 and 2/3 innings pitched, 45 strikeouts to just 12 walks. That's 15.2 strikeouts per 9. Oh, and his ERA, 0.68. Only 2 earned runs this whole season. He's been exceptional, and it's not like the Round Rock bullpen is completely full. There's room for him, and there's definitely room for him to pitch in Round Rock. This guy has got exceptional stuff. He could be a back-end reliever by the end of the year in the Rangers pen. That's how good his stuff is, and if he can continue to limit those walks and strike guys out at an insane rate with that exceptional fastball and a pretty decent, I believe the slider is his secondary pitch of choice, then this is a guy with a high ceiling. It's a great feel-good story for a good kid coming back into baseball and having some success. He's shown basically everything that you need to show in Double-A, and I don't think he is long for the Frisco bullpen. He should be fairly soon called up. I mean, we haven't seen him pitch in back-to-back days yet this season. I think that's basically the only thing that the Rangers need to see him, but he's got a lot of multi-inning outings, a lot of high-leverage situations. When starters get into big jams, he's come in with bases loaded with just a lot of runners on base. And I think that him pitching back-to-back days that's usually the sign from a reliever that they're about to move up to the next level. Now, let's look at another guy who is crushing it in Double-A. This guy is my minor league player of the week, Thomas Saggese, a guy who was in my top, I think, 15 prospects before the season. Maybe he should have been a little bit higher, but he's a guy who I really, really like. Plays basically all the infield positions, plays a lot of third base, a lot of shortstop, a lot of second base. Not as much shortstop this year because of Luis Angel Acuna, but this week he has been absolutely on fire. And his last 7 days, he's played in 5 games, has a homer, a triple, a double, hitting .450 on base of .522, slugging .750, a 1272 OPS in that span. That is worthy of minor league player of the week, and shouts out to Thomas Saggese. Very excited for him and what he's been doing. He's a guy who might be included in a lot of different trade proposals as well. He's a guy with a decently high ceiling. I think he could be a first division starter as like a second baseman or a third baseman. He's got some pretty decent pop this year. He's got 9 home runs, 13 doubles, and 3 triples, hitting at .300 on base of .361 and slugging .481 on the season. That's an .841 OPS in just under 300 plate appearances. Really solid stuff from him. Also 6 steals, just 1 time caught stealing. I'm excited for this kid. He has really broken out the last couple of years and put himself on the radar, as he well should have, and is well deserving of my prospect of the week award. Now let's look a little bit at the lower levels. Some of these lower levels are finally getting going in terms of the Arizona Complex League and the Young Dominican League. There's a guy who I really wanted to highlight, Rony Cabrera, who has been playing on the Rangers blue team in the Dominican Summer League. Only 11 games so far, but putting up some silly numbers, hitting .359 with a .537 on base, slugging .692, 3 dingers in 11 games. as well as a triple and a pair of doubles. Really exciting stuff from him in a small sample size, but still definitely something worth mentioning. Sebastian Walcott, who was the Rangers' top signee, I believe, this last year, he has been putting up not great, but not terrible numbers in his first action of organized baseball, or professional baseball, I should say. 10 walks to just 8 strikeouts, only hitting 161, but a 381 on base is solid, and slugging 323. Does not have his first professional homer yet, but does have a triple and 3 doubles as well. It's decent stuff for him. He's still very young, and I really look a lot at those walks to strikeout rates for pitchers and hitters in the lower levels, because there's a lot of wildness out there in terms of both hitters and pitchers not knowing where the strike zone is, and having a good discipline of that really translates well. And him hitting for a little bit of power while he is still 17 and playing shortstop is definitely a good sign, and something worth monitoring. Not a whole lot else going on in the lower levels of minor league baseball. There is one other guy on the other Dominican Summer League team, the Dominican Red team, that is the 17-year-old Rony Cabrera, who has played in 10 games, has a batting average of .414 and on base of .464. 8 walks to just 2 strikeouts, and is slugging .824. That's a 1392 OPS for the young Dominican outfielder. 3 triples, 6 doubles in 10 games. That's impressive. That's real impressive, honestly, for a young kid. I know it's a small sample size, but there's not really a whole bunch of sample size for these Dominican Summer League teams. They don't go all that long into the season. And, you got to praise what you got on the page. And he has been putting some impressive numbers on the page. Excited for him, excited for the future of this Ranger system. And it's been a little frustrating with the Hickory and Down East teams, not because of what they've been doing on the field, but because they've had a lot of rainouts. It's been really, really frustrating. A couple of different games rained out this week. It feels like every week there's like at least 1 or 2 games rained out, so they end up having to do a whole bunch of double headers. And so we can't see as many Brock Porter starts. He hasn't started in a week, and that is kind of frustrating. I really wish that we could see more of Brock Porter, because I think he might be the most interesting Rangers pitching prospect in the system. I mean, I think he might have the highest ceiling. Actually, no, I still think Kumar Rocker has the highest ceiling of anybody in the system, but Brock Porter's ceiling is also really, really freaking high. But there is one other lower level thing that I wanted to mention. Anthony Gutierrez, who's played in 6 games at the Arizona Complex League. He is really starting to figure it out. Had a little bit of a rough go of it in low A. Not terrible, but just not great. It was a pretty aggressive assignment. He's only 18 years old, but in 6 games in the Arizona Complex League, he's got a 931 OPS, because he's hitting .350 with an on base of .381 and slugging .550. Still doesn't have a home run, but still very nice stuff. Would like to see him walk just a little bit more. Only 1 walk to 6 strikeouts in 21 plate appearances. I'm sure that will get better. He is a guy who was projected to have a pretty decent handle of the strike zone and a decent amount of raw pop. I think he is playing a pretty solid amount of center field. I know he was playing a lot of center field when he was in low A, and this year in the Arizona Complex League, he has been playing, 4 games of center field, 1 DH, 1 in left field. So good to see him still getting some reps in center field. The ceiling is pretty high on him. I think I had him either in my top 10 or just outside my top 10. He was a really high riser. The Rangers are really, really high on him. And from everything I heard from, baseball prospectus and from different people that I've talked to around the organization, there's a pretty high ceiling on that kid that they are very, very excited about. But that is going to do it. That is what's been going on in the minor leagues this week. That is going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. Like I said, on Monday, I'll be back talking about this weekend series. Hopefully a series win for the Rangers and maybe another Cody Bradford start. I still don't know at this point, and I'm recording around noon on Friday. Maybe we'll know by Monday. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy first place Texas Rangers baseball.